good point, Jeff. So talk about some of the struggles that you faced building this institute. So some of your bottlenecks, and how do you and feel free to be as vulnerable as possible to educate our, because I think many times the pain resonates with many other leaders and as they're listening and viewing. So yeah.
Well, the first point of decision was, do we hire people in the company and teach them the thought leadership part, the writing and the other part, because they know the tech or they know the input, the company. I did a quick experiment, internal job posting. And after looking at dozens and dozens and putting some writing tests and other things in place, it just didn't work. And so that was the first challenge. We need to go external, but nobody externally got this. We hired the first person, even that was through a referral. And then after she joined, an Emmy Award winning producer, Catherine, who did some video work, and she made some referrals. And then we started getting into the media community. We started talking to people who were very talented, but you didn't know about our world. So I think that first challenge is maybe you need to access some talent outside of who you normally know. That was a big thing. And then also convince people to join and convince people in our company that yes, we should hire those, because we were changing the norm. Not anymore, but again, that was a change. And the next thing, of course, is just budgets. Less so the very first year, but it's a challenge because again, we aren't competing with whether it's a good idea or not. I'm very happy with all of our executives. They support what we're doing. But does that next dollar go to hiring a salesperson or a conference sponsorship or something else? It's the opportunity cost. It's knowing who your dollars and your time are competing with. So I think that's a challenge you can't take lightly at any size firm. Another challenge is trying to use these tools like the website, the marketing engine, filters, email lists, newsletters, whatever it happens to be, and working within the system. Because it won't happen as fast as you want, and you'll be tempted to try to do it on your own, which will lack the scale. You'll be this project off to the side. How do you work within the system and change? It takes a lot longer than you'd like, and yet in the end, it's a team effort, and you're actually driving real change. We like to toss around transformation and change and all that. Well, real change means you're working with people, and everything that we do, somebody else in the company was responsible for before, right? It was done in some capacity. So gradually you're going through a process where people are saying, no, I do that, to, well, we'll work together, to, you're pretty good at this, to, yes, you can actually tell our group a few things that might help us. And I think that there's just no substitute. Some things have taken us many months longer than I want them to. And, my team can tell you, my unit can, that I'm not patient with them at a lot of things. But with that, we had to be. Things just take time in some cases. So those are the major challenges. And then finally, once you do accomplish your goals, I think continue to raise your gaze. Is there a top tier publication? Is there a conference? Is there a capability? Is there some expertise that you don't have yet? And this is a fast changing world. I mean, media and marketing and just digital in general is moving so quickly that you need to have the expertise. So I think there's always something else you can learn. And I think as long as you're doing that, you can hit the pillow each night knowing you're doing all you can. And it's pretty interesting work. I tell people, some of the stuff we do, I almost do for free. It's interesting. Yeah. And so I think you've got to keep that. It's partly hunger, but I think it's mostly curiosity, in a sense of you're able to serve and share more if you're equipped and have better capabilities.
Interesting. So let's now shift focus to outfacing, right? So and by the way, thank you for sharing your perspective.
Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, and definitely. And I hope our listeners and viewers can take away something from this conversation about how they can themselves start building an in-house center of excellence when it comes to producing and sort of knowledge and spreading it out. So fascinating, by the way, for the inbound also. So now let's talk about the outfacing. So what are some of the things that you are seeing with respect to how organizations are impacted by COVID? Like, what are some? Can you share something about what you are seeing is happening around you through your consulting? Yeah,
sure. And some of it might have become instant cliches, but I'll share them anyway because they're real. Part of it is it's revealed as much as it's created. So things that were happening, it's accelerated trends, it's revealed things. I did the Master Black Belt thing several years ago, and so efficiency, lean is really important. I think the pandemic has cast a harsh light on being only efficient, but not very resilient or brittle. That there's a reason why insurance policies and buffers are there. My favorite, I'm a tennis fan, tennis nut, and Wimbledon has carried pandemic insurance for the last 60 years or 100 since the Spanish flu. And guess what? It paid out last summer, and so I think that's one big thing is think about resilience. Whether it's having enough toilet paper in the U.S. or whether it's whatever it is, do you get enough sleep? That's resilience. I'll victim with that. Are you thinking about trends? Can there be a little less of taking care of today and a little more of tomorrow sometimes? Or resilience in your relationships, at work or personal. So I think the resilience part is important. The other is the companies and people who had aggressively adopted the benefits of digital and these exponential technologies. I think it really showed, because the ones that did were able to move quickly because they had the cloud, because they had all these sensors and know what was going on, because they could shift employees to work from home, because they could add new product lines or shift what they were producing. If you didn't, and you relied upon in-person traditional experiences, traditional ways of doing things, and you literally were regulated or legislated that you couldn't get in person, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you're dead in the water. Caveat, some industries like travel, cruise ships, etc. It's tough no matter what. I'm talking about the different companies in the same industry that happen to fare better. So I think that was something also that came out. And then the other thing that I think it revealed is there's a mental side and a mental health side to a lot of this as well, that even physically, if you're fine, what are the effects on a team, on an individual, on a family? On the one hand, people that complain they had to travel too much or they had to go to a long commute, they'd rather be home all the time. Well, maybe after being home all the time, it's best to have a little bit of space and balance. So I think there's lots of experiments like that went on, and people got tired of them pretty quickly, and yet they drag on and on. So I think the unseen toll of mental health, and then that's even before you talk about the non-business side, where it's with school kids and education,
right,
in person versus the other. So to me, those are the big items that have come up. And on the positive side, I think because it reduced the opportunity cost of experimenting with things before that weren't considered safe. Like, could you really do an important seminar or panel or a conference remotely? Well, maybe you could, but nobody would come, and we've got to do it in person. Well, after all these experiments, now people are realizing there are certain things you can do very well, and certain technologies and platforms have adapted.